Hello, I'm standing out here in some wild weather, which feels quite appropriate to tell you about my new book, Outlandish, Walking Europe's Unlikely Landscapes. So as you can see from the cover, this is a book about 4 walking journeys into 4 very different parts of Europe, each of which acted as a kind of a portal, leading me into far-flung places around the world and unexpected climatological and geological and historical eras. I'll explain a little bit about what that means. My first walk took me to a patch of Alpine Arctic tundra stranded in the northeast of Scotland, the Cairngorms mountain range, home to Britain's only free-ranging reindeer herd, still scarred by the great glaciers that once covered the landscape. And this patch of tundra has more in common climatologically and maybe culturally even with Scandinavia, the Arctic Circle, Siberia and northern Canada or Greenland than it does with the neighbouring Western Highlands. This was a journey back into Britain's deep time as a place that was covered in ice and literally joined to the Eurasian continent by a great ice bridge. It was also a glimpse forward into the time that is coming when the ice is melting and the great ice caps are collapsing all around us into a changing world. The second journey again took me back into Europe's deep history, but this time it was a time of not of ice but trees. The Bielvesa forest in Poland and Belarus is the last big patch of the primeval forest that once covered the North European plain. In this tangled, mysterious place, home to gigantic oak trees many hundreds of years old, there are bison, there are wolves, there are remnants of the sort of pagan tree-worshipping religions that once existed in this part of Europe. And again, this took me back into deep time and deep history. My third journey was very different again. This took me to Europe's only desert. This is Tabernas in the southeast of Spain. I walked into the desert in a heat wave to encounter strange fantasy landscape. This is where they filmed all the spaghetti westerns, Sergio Leone films, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, A Fistful of Dollars. Still home to cowboy theme parks and kind of mock shootouts in the desert. And so this whole region is kind of overlaid with the fantasies of the Old West, of the American frontier, the American Badlands. But it's also a place where the Moorish influence is still apparent. And rather than walking backwards into Europe's history, with this heat wave in mind, it felt like I was getting a discomforting, even frightening glimpse forward into Europe's future in the time of climate breakdown and escalating temperatures raging throughout the continent. And then my fourth and final journey took me to the grassland steppes of Hungary. Now this is the terminus of the Eurasian steppes that led the original Hungarians all the way from Central Asia in the time of the Great Migrations. So there's very strong cultural links with Central Asia, with nomadism, with shamanism. And in this region of perfectly flat grassland, this perhaps felt like the most uncanny out of all these landscapes. The thing that joins these themes together, I suppose, is something I didn't expect when I set out to write the book, but it's the unavoidable theme of climate change, of the great breakdown that is happening around us. And so there's a fair amount of grief layered throughout the book, but there's also wonderful characters, there's eco-activists, there's Wild West fantasists, there's people who dress up as ancient Mongolian warriors. I found Slavic forest gods, I found the big grey man of the Cairngorms, this ghostly figure stalking the plateau. And I hope you enjoy coming on some of these journeys with me. And thank you very much to Stanfords for making this the book of the month for June 2021. I hope you enjoy the journey.